recording at the moment. Anyway, there you go. So welcome back, everybody. I hope that you were able to leave gracefully rather than being thrown back by Zoom. We have 114 people back. So does anybody, where is Rosie? Let's just check whether Rosie's back.
I'm back, Louise.
Did you want to say, I realize we're running out of time. Did you want to say something about just closing this experience or hearing some thoughts about this experience?
Yes, Louise. I would love to hear from one or two people now that you've had the experience of being, hopefully you've had the experience of being the thinker and the listener. What did you think? What was the experience like?
And Rosie, I think we're going to ask people to either speak up or just put in the chat function because we're only going to have time to listen to one or two people. But
Yeah,
anybody else?
I see Raina's got her hand up.
Hi, Rosie. Just very quickly, something that's never struck me before was the impact of the speaker, because I realized how my mind shifted from the First Lady to you. Because you spoke a different way, my whole body changed as well. So it's also something that I'm noticing now in this session. But thanks, that was brilliant. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for that.
Rosie, I think can I go or not?
Yes,
go, Jane.
I think I just love the experience again of just, it's so tempting when somebody is finished speaking, it's so tempting to believe that they're finished. And just by asking that Nancy Klein time to think question really does unlock a whole new level of thinking that is so helpful for the person who's speaking. So again, just really loved living that and seeing how well that tool works, you know, especially even virtually. You know, I've usually only done it face to face. So yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Jane. And it's sort of like when we ask that second question, we're asking it into new awareness. So even though the person's been thinking, their thinking has moved and they're hearing it afresh, what more? And always that invitation. So Naomi, and then I'm going to hand it over back to you, Louise.
I think what resonated with me was when you started talking about deliciously, that's the word you used, no? Deliciously listening. And it changed the way that I don't know, it spoke to my heart or something, and it changed the way that I listened. So that worked for me.
Thanks, Naomi. It's this leaning in about where is this person going to go, and I'm here completely. Thank you. Louise.
Great. Thank you, Rosie. So I just want to say to everybody that that word delicious in our community have created all sorts of, because people go, oh, how do you listen deliciously? But there's something delicious about the word. So I really want to encourage you to use that as you go back into your workplace. So now we're going to hear from Rama Naidu. Rama is also an experienced coach and facilitator. When Peter Block was with us in 2010, Rama joined us for the community building workshops in Durban, and he got completely hooked on the process. And since then, he has been using the 6 Conversations of Community methodology to run these community building workshops. And he offers the community building workshop on the PFP program. So we've asked Rama to share what he's learned and been surprised by since April 2020. Rama, over to you.
Thank you, Louise, and hi, everyone. It's an absolute pleasure to be with you guys. In terms of the training that I do, it's about building community, the structure of belonging. And so the very essence is about getting people into the same room, to see the contact, to see the facial expressions, to see the aha, to get the feeling that I'm connected to another human being. And so when COVID hit us, how on earth was I going to transform this session with 50 to 60 people in a room into a virtual space. And I was convinced I was not going to give in to make it just a translation of the workshop from face-to-face into virtual. So I wasn't going with the gimmicks. I wasn't going with huge PowerPoint presentations, but with the clear intention of how we connect people when all you can see is their head on a screen. And so we actually battled for more than 2 months to design a program that took the key concepts of connection and relationships into a virtual space. And it was an extremely difficult task. But behind it was always the notion of intention and the fact that you wanted people in the room, despite being in a virtual space, to be seen, heard, and loved. And all this in a space where people were in deep fear about their future, about their lives, about their context. And so here we were, 40 or 50 people in a space, now down to 20 people, to talk about this experience. And so based on, I think, about 80 workshops that I conducted in the last 4 or 5 months, I've picked up those things that for me stood out as being the essence of what helped myself and the team connect to people. So I'm going to share that with you. And I will give you the PowerPoint presentation, so please don't worry about taking notes. Just delicious listening to what I picked up from it. The first thing, and to add to Dina's point about grounding, is that in addition to grounding other people to bring them into the room, I spent a good amount of time grounding myself, sitting quietly and immersing myself with the intention of what I wanted to do with the group I was working with. And the big question for me was, how useful can I be in service of this group? And then I entered the space to do it. So whether there were 5 people, 7 people, or 20 people, it was the same intention. Am I clear about what I want to do in this space and how can I be of value? And that meant leaving ego and expert at the door and simply being of service to the people that were there. So I've come up with 6 things that I think are key, and I cut this down from about 45, so bear with me. The first one is, don't assume that everyone is okay with working in virtual space. Some are not. And that means we have to allay people's fears and tell them it's okay. If they don't want to use the chat function, let them talk. If they don't understand something, don't make them feel stupid. Say, I do the same thing. So provide alternate options for people so that they feel comfortable about being in that space, even though it's a strange environment. And for many of us, we work with school principals, this was a completely new space to be in. The second thing was that connection and relationship before content. So people had the content. I had a PowerPoint presentation, a huge deck of slides, and I told them up front, you will get the full deck of slides. So please don't worry about taking copious notes. Just be present in this space. The only notes you take are your aha moments, your questions, your reflections, nothing more than that. And that immediately let people put their pens down and say, just be present. So for me, letting go of the need to finish everything in that session was a big aha moment, because we wanted to accomplish everything. I said, okay, if we have a deeply connected experience and people are engaged, the engagement is the process. The feeling that people are talking to each other, that they are sharing stories deeply. And that is it. The content you can pick up afterwards, that's in a book, that's in a presentation, but being in the presence of another person to share a deep story about community or about the lived experience, we always take away with us. So always the focus on connection to the group, to yourself, and to the lived experiences was an important principle that underlied our work. The third thing was to let go of this over-reliance on structure and PowerPoint. And I think the reliance on PowerPoint and structure is mainly for my own insecurity, that I've got something to hang on to. So the sense is, know your stuff well, but don't get too attached to it. Don't get too attached to it. Be willing to let go in the interest of making it a valuable engagement for the people in the room. So I might have a beautiful slide and I really want to show that slide, but if the opportunity does not come up and I don't show it, it's okay. They're going to get it at some point. So I'm not getting too tied to that. The fourth thing is to do regular temperature checks. When you're working with 20 people in a room and you're not sure what's happening, do checks. Even though you have a break, you can take a break for literally 10 seconds. I call it a Ma moment, a moment of awareness. Sit where you are, just stretch your hands out. And I tell people it's to remind yourself that I'm not just talking to your head, but that you're connected to your body in this space. And so be aware of that. And just that one moment, and we get back into the space, energy is up, and people can stay for a longer period engaged with the process. The last one, which is a really big one, and both Rosie and Dina touched on it, is that the most powerful tool in your toolkit is yourself. Is yourself. Be willing to put yourself out there, to be vulnerable, to make a fool of yourself if necessary, to show that you don't know, to connect to people in real ways. And if people begin to see that connection and feel it, and you listen deeply to their stories, the magic comes into the room all on its own. So the whole idea about this process, it offers a container for people to have deep and powerful conversations with sometimes strangers that they have not met. And so now I'm going to give you a taste of that. As Louise said, we want this to be experiential. It's a teaser of what's possible, and we have time constraints as always. We're going to go into breakout rooms, and let's see whether Tasneem has. Yes, she has. So there's the question that we have. And we're going to have a short time to discuss it. Given all that has happened in the past 5 months with the advent of COVID-19, what is the crossroads you face in your life right now, personally and professionally? So in your breakout rooms, keep your video on if possible. Brief introduction of yourself, share your crossroads, and someone in the room, please keep time, because we don't have a timer in that space. Again, make sure there's delicious listening, no interruptions, just listen to the person fully, and we'll bring you back after 5 minutes and we will talk about it. So you can take a screenshot of this because you won't get the instruction in your room. And we'll break out now into groups of 3, please, Tasneem. And we'll see you back in 5 minutes.
So I'm going to be sending people into the rooms, and there will be, just because of all the connectivity issues, there will be 4 people between 3 and 4 people in the room. And I'm going to ask you to keep your contribution to 60 seconds. So you can either time yourself or just make sure that it's 60 seconds so everybody gets a chance to speak, and then we'll come back and debrief this because we are running out of time quickly now. So the rooms are open and you can just accept that invitation.
Okay, thanks, Louise.
Breakout room. So everybody can just accept the invitation as quickly as you can. Debrief. Rama, unfortunately,
there we go. So I'm fully aware of that, and this is always the problem with virtual spaces. So let's do a couple of things. Can we quickly write into the chat so we just see how was that experience? What struck you about that conversation? You were 2 total strangers, and you're asked to say something personal and professional about where you are right now. Just type some stuff into the chat so we can see, get a sense of what happened in that room. Can we do that now, please, quickly? I'm very conscious of the time, so.
Someone said it wasn't 5 minutes. It was 5 minutes. I did make sure that we, but time always goes fast.
Okay, so I can see the comments coming up. So we did have a barrier that normally we would have much more time if we did this in real space. But the notion is the question was deeply personal. It was anxiety provoking and made you feel a little bit uncomfortable. And so when we're all in that space together, in that intimate space of the small group, something magical happens if we have the space for it. And as the first person shares their crossroad, it's an invitation to the other two to do the same. And once the connection is made, the magic starts to happen in the room. Because the crossroads leads to possibilities. It leads to a future that is distinct from the past. And how do we do that together to co-create that future? And that's the essence of the work. Thank you, Louise. Over to you.
Thank you. I want to just use this opportunity as a very big ad for a big ad break. So yeah, Ram and I were both trained by Peter Block, and Peter Block will be hosting a series of masterclasses about the structure of belonging. The first Monday for 6 Mondays in a row, Monday evenings at 7 o'clock South African time, from the 2nd of November, there will be a masterclass series with Peter Block around these 6 conversations of the community, which is captured in the book, Community, the Structure of Belonging. So if you're interested in this work, stay connected, because we will let you know about that. It will be advertised in a little while. Thank you, Rama, Rosie, Dina. I'm sure we all agree that we could spend the whole day talking and listening and hearing more, and there's a lot of wisdom in the room that we didn't even get a chance to connect to. So just very quickly from my perspective, and I'm going to try and be very brief and then just close with maybe 1 or 2 appreciations. So I facilitate Flawless Consulting, and I've done many of Flawless Consulting courses during lockdown. The first thing is I've realized that we should get away. The idea of doing a full day workshop on Zoom is just silly. So we have moved our 2 full day workshops into 4 modules of 3 hours each. And that meant that we've had to be very discerning around what's essential. So we've had to cut out fluff. And there's something about, because of the cutting off out of fluff that I've been doing so diligently over the last period, when I did it face to face, it was much easier for me to really understand, that whole point of less is more and less is better. I was able to be much more discerning around what is it that we absolutely have to cover during the 2 days that we are together. We have decided that in future we will run Flawless Consulting where at all possible as a blended module. 2 of the modules will be online, and then module 3 and 4 will be face-to-face. Because there's something about the online that gives breathing space. It enables people to read the chapters in the book. So that's definitely made a difference. Module 1 and 2 online, and then module 3 and 4 face-to-face. So it's always been a challenge for us to get people to read. So Flawless, for those of you who've done Flawless Consulting, that book is hard. It sometimes feels impenetrable. But here's the tip. I now start every online module with a question. What struck you about these 2 chapters that you were asked to read? But I tell them that before this. I said, next time when we meet, that's going to be the opening question. And guess what? They're reading the chapters. And then they come, and that's been so wonderful because it's been a real mission for me all my life to get that. And the last thing I want to mention, which is so the book is Flawless Consulting. It's Peter Block's book about consulting skills, which actually is influencing. So don't get put off by the name. It's about influencing. How do I influence when I have no direct authority or control? And the last thing I want to say is we've really been using WhatsApp groups. So we set up a WhatsApp group for every course we run. And then the WhatsApp group is our way of keeping connected in between the virtual sessions. It also is an opportunity to kind of prompt people to say, remember, you have to read the book. It's an opportunity for us to share videos before the next module. Please watch this video. It's a great way. And then in the session, when we ask people, when I send people off into a breakout room, I take a picture of my screen and I put that in the WhatsApp group. So we all have it all easily available. And then we've created this beautiful reflective tool, which is called the virtual round, where we just mine the gold for the day. And that also gets captured on the WhatsApp. So we've come to the end of our session. We have 2 minutes left. In these 2 minutes, what we want you to do is to please complete the feedback form, which Tasnim will put in the chat function for you. So there should be a link in the chat function to the feedback form. If you are able to, it should take you less than 2 minutes. We've cut the questions to the minimum. And that's just from Tasnim Domingo. And thank you very much for all the words of appreciation. I don't know whether anybody wants to kind of say just a thank you to Dina, Rama, and Rosie, anybody who's been touched or inspired by what you heard, maybe just 2 people. And I'll just keep my eyes open to see whether anybody's unmuting themselves to do that. No, it looks like everybody wants to give feedback. Brenda, did you unmute yourself?
Yes, I'm happy to. You know what, it's just been amazing. And I've just been so privileged because I've had 2 of you in my sessions. But really had expectations just to come in and learn something, but it actually has been phenomenal. To each of you, you've opened my eyes, just created a whole new awareness and insight in terms of virtual. I love your positioning of grounding. I loved your tips, Ramu and Louise, and I loved the time to think. So, wow, it really was wildly beyond expectations, and a huge thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Brenda. Thank everybody for your generosity and your willingness to hang out with you. I do want to encourage you to join our, thanks, Sonomi. Did you want to say something? Very welcome.
Can I please?
I just also want to say to my cousin Cherie, who joined us from Australia, it is the first time that we are professionally connected, and I hope this is not going to be the last one. So anybody who had a chance to meet with Cherie Hucha, she's my own cousin. She joined us from Australia. And also I really want to encourage you, we're having these 3 sessions around reimagining leadership, and the speakers are going to be amazing. And you do not want to miss being in the room with Professor Gary Manjafico. He's the CEO of OD in the world, I think. He should be named to, and Julian Birkinshaw from London Business School, and there will be more. So stay connected. Last word to Sonomi.
Thank you. I just wanted to say that this session was different to 99% of others that I've attended, because you guys have been able to establish real connection. Thank you.
Thank you, Sonomi. That's what we've had to learn how to do during the last 4 months. So if that came through, then we are very grateful. Thank you very much, Rama, Rosie, Dina. Just hang on for a few minutes that we can do our own debrief and practice what we preach. But everybody else, thank you very much. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and we will see you again in cyberspace, or hopefully face to face in not too long from now. Have a wonderful rest of your day and enjoy your weekend.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Cheers.
Thank you, much appreciated. Thank you so much.
Thanks very much.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks so much.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks so much. Loved it. Bye.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Thanks so much.